Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Secrets in Medical Device Sales, brought to you by the Girls of Grit. We are so happy you guys joined us today, and we have a very special guest that I'm going to let Cindy introduce, and we are just so excited to have her here today.
Yes, welcome, everyone. Very excited. Today, we have with us Rhonda Petit, and Rhonda Petit wrote a book called The Spirit of Selling, and it says Using Universal Laws for Sales Success. We are so excited to hear about what she has to say for all of our listeners to learn a little bit about the spirit of selling. So without further ado, Rhonda, will you please tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today to writing this book?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Rhonda Petit. I am a sales and business peak performance coach, and the author, speaker, and CEO of 3x5 Coaching, where we help medical device companies with disruptive technology get their technology adopted so they can become the go-to leader in their industry. And the question that you asked a little bit about me, I started out in sales when I was 21 years old, and I'm coming up on my 40th year, and I love selling, and I don't think I'll ever quit in regards to that. But how this book happened was that on my journey around 35 years in, I left being an entrepreneur due to a restructuring and decided to go out and venture myself to be an entrepreneur in coaching, because I've always loved business and knew I was going to need something to do. So I started that. And in the process, when I first went out around May or June, I went to an event called The Matrix by Bob Proctor, who used to have these events up in Canada. And he started talking all this stuff about universal law and being a scientist and everything. It's like, okay, this sounds like Newton's laws and all that stuff. How does this work for mindset? And then when he got done spinning my head around and I realized kind of what it was all about and ties it into The Secret and everything, I said, oh my gosh, why didn't I know about this when I was 21 when I started? Because I think all of us have success sometimes, and you can be an unconscious competent and succeed. But if you really understand the principles of the science behind it, and you can apply it and align yourself with universal law, all kinds of magic can start to happen. So I felt that I had to get the word out, because I would have loved to have it when I was 21. And so here we go. That's how it happened.
That is really exciting. And, you mentioned something I want to make sure all of our listeners are aware of when you said The Secret. So The Secret is the title of a book written by, I think it's Rhonda Byrne, and maybe you were meant to be because it's the same name.
Yeah.
Right? And that talks about the law of attraction. And, it is probably, I feel like it's probably the most popular book when we talk about the law of attraction that relates to this. So I just wanted to point that out, that everybody knew that's what we were referring to.
And I'd love to add to that. So it's funny that you say this, Rhonda. When I was younger, first starting out as well, medical devices, driving. We didn't have podcasts to listen to like we have today. I don't even know if we had Sirius XM. I don't even think we had that. No, we didn't. It was like CDs and cassettes and all the stuff that you'd pop into the car. But I bought The Secret on book or whatever it was, CD, cassette. And I remember listening to it for the very first time. And I thought, this is a little out there, but I'm going to believe in it. And I just kind of started going with the flow and really thinking about abundance and all the things that you talk about in this book. And it is actually quite amazing when you keep that kind of at your forefront. You're thinking about it constantly. The results that you get, whether it's in sales or the reactions you receive or how you're receiving the information, it's really awesome and it works. So I really can't wait for our listeners to not only listen to this interview, but also pick up your book and really try and read it and apply it to their everyday lives with regards to sales. And, sales across the board. Cindy and I talk about medical devices because we've been doing it for so long, but I mean, sales is sales. It's still the same principles that apply. So I'm really super excited about this, and I can feel your energy just from this. I know people can't see us, but I feel your energy just looking at you. I love it. A huge smile on your face talking about it. So let's dive right in. The very first thing that I'd love to ask you is, you gave us a little bit of a background, but really, why the laws of attraction? Why this book? And why now?
Well, I think there is a lot of people are waking up. So it's not woo woo like it was maybe 20 years ago when Earl Nightingale was first talking about it, right? Why now? I think that if you understand that you're an electromagnet and basically thought is energy and what you're thinking about is going out, and your attitude, the way you show up, all that energy, and it's going to bring to you exactly what you put out, and you really start taking control of your thoughts, you can actually serve people really well by understanding how those law works and being of service to someone, right? And a lot of times, if you're thinking about what you don't want when you go on a sales call instead of what you do want, especially now, like with the think about like in a contracting economy, right? People need salespeople that can get them focused to make decisions, right? The way you're thinking and what you're thinking about, you have to have conviction, that belief, so that people can make a confident decision in what you're selling with. So I would say why now is because if more of us, we can change the way sales is perceived to be more of service. The nothing used to make me angry. You just get irritated because you want to be a consultant and you want to serve people, right? And then people think of salespeople as like a car salesman that they're trying to basically
Avoid, avoid,
like
push
rip you
away.
off or
Oh
something,
gosh,
right?
it's the used car salesperson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're selling, if you know that to be of service, that if you put things out, they don't necessarily, it's not linear, it's can be non-linear and come back to you. You can make more positive impact on people to create more sales and to help people make decisions, because I always talk about in sales, there's a misconception about sales that you're a convict or you're trying to take something from someone instead of give. And when you're consulting and you're giving and you're putting it out, it comes back.
Yeah.
And I think today's world, you need consultants. You need people that are not just going out there to take and trade. You need people that are going to go out there and invest. And invest is for future return. And if you adopt that investment philosophy, which is what all the universal law is all about, life and continuing life. It's like now and focusing on the future. It's not looking in the back rear view mirror, because that's reverse thinking. Then this is a time to do it, because we have great opportunity with collaboration in the world right now. We've got 4 generations of people working together. And if everyone kind of gets aligned and connects and is all pointing in a harmonious direction, we can get the economy going and all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, I really like that. That was a really good point. And it's funny when you were talking about convicts, real quick, funny story. So I'm known for my stories because I always like have this like, oh, squirrel. So I had a hospital that we have to wear scrubs in the OR, right? And for years, the scrubs were green or even purple, which were awful. But I'm not even kidding you. They totally were thinking about giving us orange scrubs, orange for jail, for prison. And I'm like, guys, we are not bad. We are here to help you, to serve you, to be your consultants, like you mentioned, your trusted advisors. And we're not trying to take things from you. I really love your thought of putting it out there. And you have a bunch of amazing quotes in this book. And Cindy and I both pulled out a couple of them that we really love, and we'll mention those. But it's what you put out there is what you're going to get back. And I really like this. So I'm excited for everyone to pick up this book.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think, one thing when you're talking about making an impact and not necessarily talking about just your product, but how you can put something out there, like you said, giving and receiving. I mean, a conversation in a sales conversation is exactly that. It's a conversation. And you can have conversations with family members. You can have your 2-year-old can have a conversation with you when they want something. They find a way to communicate with you.
Sure.
And so what I think is just so great about this is you taking the time to write a book. So we can take these little tiny pieces of information that makes us more aware. So that actually kind of brings me to the beginning of your book. You really talk about awareness and how awareness is everything. And Lisa and I have had different podcasts, whether it's topics we've discussed or interviews. And it's amazing how when you first become aware, all things change. Many times we talk about self-awareness, but can you just expand a little bit of that for our listeners so they can take a piece of that? If there's anything they can begin to be more aware of what's out there and not just like you were when you first heard, what are all these laws? How do we get to past what are all these laws to being aware of what we can tap into?
So everyone has divinity within them. And you have a success mechanism access called your subconscious mind that you can use as a success mechanism or as a failure mechanism. And the awareness is learning how to direct that subconscious mind. So if you've read Napoleon Hill and the Think and Grow Rich or whatever, he talks about it being like, you are not it. You're not the energy. You just control it, like driving a car. Or Earl Nightingale used to say driving a tractor, right? So you have this powerful machine called your subconscious mind, and it can help you do good for others. Like if you're in harmony and you're doing it for the benefit of all, right? You align with it and you align with the laws, you can come up with all kinds of customer solutions. You're solving problems. You can rely on your subconscious mind to help you solve the problems. You don't have to be in your ego thinking you have to do it all by yourself. You're not in the resistance and struggle if you understand it. So to your question about awareness, most people don't study the fact that they've got a subconscious mind and how it works, that it's total unconditional love. So that means it accepts anything. It can't reject. So whatever you give it, it's going to give you back. It's like you plant carrot seeds, you're going to get carrots back. If you plant radishes, you're going to get radishes back, right? It's real simple. But when you start understanding the power of that from the fact that when you're in your heart power, which is your emotional mind is like your heart power, it's where your mind, body, and soul interact 60 times greater than anything you can do in your conscious mind, analytically thinking just with logic, right? And how many times do people make the mistake of we get excited about the technology or something and we start going on the logic of the logic reasons, but people don't buy based on logic, they buy based on their emotion, right? So awareness is understanding you have this huge potential asset, your mind, and learning how to use it and learning how it works and using it to your advantage instead of being used by it by your ignorance of not knowing what you're doing, where you're getting a boomerang effect coming back at you. So that's what I mean by awareness.
So is awareness maybe like emotional intelligence? Is that something that maybe, because we talk a lot about women having a high, for the most part, a high EQ or a high EI, we have a higher emotional intelligence level. Is that kind of what you liken it to?
Well, I likened it to the fact that we're a soul that came into physical existence and we have a mind, we have access to a mind to use, and we have a body, right? And so the awareness is who you are. It's like the soul's awareness of itself, and the soul is always going to its awareness to its connection to the creator, right? And what connects all of us is the subconscious mind because it's universal intelligence. How do you think the law of attraction works? When you get something in your conscious mind that you think, an idea, just an idea, right? And you get emotionally involved in it, it's like falling in love with the idea, like you're dating, right? You fall in love, it's resonance, right? And all you think about all day is that idea. And you get emotionally charged up about it. You're working for a company that got great technology. You know that this is going to change medicine, change the human condition, all that kind of stuff. And you have your team just pumped with conviction, like arrogance beyond imagination, and they're out there. That's energy is going to fuel getting other people to believe it, right? And get you going. So you can use it to your advantage. But if you don't know how it works, and so you watch the news and you think, like today, people are saying, oh, well, if you're older, you're a baby boomer or something, you can't get a job. That's BS. That's just a thought. That's an idea. You're falling in love with that instead of, wow, I've got these talents that I can use. And maybe they want contracting services and I could teach, I could share knowledge. There's all kinds of things, right? Where you can solve problems because you have experience that they don't, but it's just a choice of what you're going to think about. And guess what? Whatever you're thinking about 51% or more of the time is coming right back at you.
I like that.
I have to say that my mind is just racing as you're saying this. And so two things I take away from that is number one, we all go into our sales calls with a piece of equipment that we can choose to tap into or not. It's not you have to pack it in your bag. You don't have to remember to take it with you. It's there. You just have to choose to use it, which would be your subconscious mind. And I think maybe a very easy way to explain awareness, when you said this, it just dawned on me. And I think a really good example is when you're buying a car. And how many times that if you're thinking about, I want to buy a certain type of car, whether it's a Toyota or a Cadillac or a Mercedes, then all of a sudden they're everywhere in front of you.
Yep.
Everywhere in front of you. And you think, I didn't know there were this many. I didn't know there were this many. Well, what if we actually went into a sales call thinking like that? That our impact, not so much our product, because you just talked about this, like we're there in awareness and making an impact in a sale. It's a consultation. So what if we thought as we are driving there, instead of about the car in front of us, what about the impact that we can make and play in our minds what it's like for us to make that impact? Now, if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm tapping into my subconscious mind and I'm concentrating on this, is it then the energy? Because this is what I'm trying to piece together about the energy. Is it the energy then that pulls that together for you to bring it? Or am I missing this and it's the subconscious mind that's putting out the energy that makes everything complete?
So people are buying your energy. If you have congruency between when you're selling something, right? You have the idea of it and you've fallen in love with the idea and the impact, and you come walking in. Your energy is what they're buying. They're going to be attracted to your energy. Your energy level is very high, right? And most people today that are not closing have a subconscious disconnect with what they're selling. They're buying the BS that somebody doesn't need it or somebody doesn't have money. People still have money. The money's out there. The money didn't move. I mean, there's trillions of dollars out there. It's like, who's got the money? The money's there, but we haven't made, by the thinking, if you're not thinking about impact and you're not thinking about value and you're not building the trust with the person when you come in, which is all about empathy first and focusing on them, right? To serve, not about your commission check, not about being the hero with the order, all that stuff, right? And you're walking in and you know that solution can help that client, and you let them off the hook. You got to work on your decision and your thoughts.
I love this.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. She's touching on something we
I
literally
know.
just talked about, Cindy. This
We
is
did.
one of our
honestly,
episodes. Yeah.
So thank you for clarifying that the energy is the presence that you bring and the way you present, because I've actually was complimenting Lisa about how one thing Lisa's very good at is how passionate she is when she sells. And I think that's a very good definition of the energy and the presence that you bring into a room and being aware, because if Lisa didn't believe in what she was selling, it'd be a completely different conversation. And I love to bring awareness to that, because I think you're right. I think this is the very beginning of, if people don't understand how passion really plays into the energy you bring into a sale, they just better go back to square one.
But that's a congruence, because in your conscious mind, the conscious mind is, the attitude that she's bringing of what her thoughts are and what her feelings are and her action is the attitude. The energy is really high, but then she also in belief is what you need to believe in that subconscious mind. Like, she's going in there knowing she's going to make the sale. You even said it, like, can I use my subconscious mind? Yeah, absolutely. Every time you walk in the door, you should see yourself making a sale, especially, unless it's not a fit. You're not going to shove it down somebody's throat that doesn't need it. But you walk in there and it's like, ideal customer, check, 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 check. And they're suffering, and you're not in there with attitude and conviction, because you can think about it. But when you're emotionally, you have conviction, whoever has the highest amount of conviction is going to win.
Oh my gosh, you're making me feel really good about our podcast right now, Rhonda. Thank you. Because we talk about so much of this stuff on our podcast, and I'm like, yay, we're talking about all the good things. But you really kind of bring it all into one thing, which is your book. I love that. I mean, we were talking about passion, but you should have pride for your product, for your company, but you also need confidence. You also need knowledge. You need, all of these things together. And then the other thing is, and I always say this, is people want to buy from people they like, people that make them feel good, right? They don't want to buy from somebody that makes them feel crappy, or, oh, here they come again, push it again, all of those things. And that's their subconscious kind of pushing them away. And that's, of course, the laws of attraction as well,
Well, yeah, but the reason the energy is so strong is that you have that conviction and belief. So you're not just a thought in the head, but you have the belief in your heart in it. So the law of vibration works. There's no disconnection, right? Because you could be thinking about what you got to do on the call and trying to serve them. But if your heart is, if there's a incongruency, people pick it up, because we all speak the law of vibration. You understand?
I love that.
You don't have to say anything, but you come out of there and you're like, I wonder why that went. Well, what the heck were you thinking about when you went in there? Your commission check?
Oh
your
my
commission
gosh,
check,
that's
right?
so, or the bad argument that you got into with your husband.
Or
you
the
know,
last
what do you-
customer that, did whatever.
Yeah.
I would say before a sales call, like you got to get your juice on, like whatever kind of music it is. and
Music,
you got your
absolutely.
attitude up there. And then you got to believe your product. And if your
I
team
love
does
this.
not believe your product, you got to sit them down and you got to give them conviction, right? They got to be out on a mission and they got to have that conviction. And if you get that going and your energetics of your team is that high, you're going to rock it. And right now, people need consultative selling people that are going to give them confidence to make some decisions and not have this incongruent messaging going on that people are they're going to walk away.
And what's
You know-
crazy is we don't even know we do it, right? I mean, I bet a lot of people aren't even, again, awareness is everything. You don't
Right.
even realize you're not vibrating at the frequency. You're not feeling it, thinking it, exuding it, all of it together. And Cindy, I may have just cut you off. I'm really sorry, but I want to know, like, Rhonda, in your book, do you tell us how to do that?
Yeah. You have to first get aware, understand. So if you're ignorant and nobody's told you any of this, and you're just doing your standard habits, which we all get programming and conditioning, right? From two places. One is our genetics and two is our environment. Who do you hang out with? And then in energy, you're like a plant. And the 5 people that you hang around with the most, giving off energy, and you're giving off energy to them. And you got to ask your question, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm probably not growing. And what am I listening to? Am I listening to all the negative talk at the water cooler or the news or whatever and getting wrapped up in a bunch of fear, which is basically when you think you can't get what you want and you're thinking about yourself? Or are you thinking about serving an impact? So you're not thinking about yourself anymore. And that's an easy way to tell, whether you're aligned and you're convicted and you're ready to go. That's usually what disconnects, because when you disconnect, you got to understand, you disconnect from the subconscious mind when you start getting in your ego and just thinking about you. The
That's
subconscious
important.
mind is universal mind for everyone. Why do you think the law of attraction happens, that all of a sudden you see those, see things or things come to you? You don't know where it's going to come from. It's not a linear exchange. It's nonlinear. Everything in the universe is nonlinear. It's all vibration, cycles, everything.
Well,
Adoption of a product.
you hit on a great point when you said it's not about you. It's not that you're not thinking about you. So in sales, if you go into a sales call thinking about yourself, you might as well just turn around and walk out the door and go back, because it's not about you. It's about what you're putting out there. It's about your impact and your outcome. And so when you mentioned the law of vibration, this was actually one of my favorite. It was chapter 5 in your book on page 67, when you talk about the law of vibration. And one of my favorite quotes that you put in here, where your attention goes, yes, your energy flows. And I think there's just that being said alone kind of ties a lot of this together. Where your attention goes, your energy flows.
You have 2 things that you use. So intention, my intent going on to the sales call is going to organize my energy with a purpose. And then my attention going on to that client and how I can serve is going to focus my energy on them. So what we all speak the law of vibration, we can feel energy, right? So if I come in and I'm going to sell to you, Cynthia, and I'm focused on you, and you can tell my intention is I'm asking questions about you and I'm getting, more information, and I'm all focused on you and I'm really actively listening. There's nothing to do with me. I'm just an instrument to serve you, to serve the client, right? If I get in that zone, they're going to be I'm going to pick up trust. I'm going to have empathy. So they're going to build the trust. And then if I'm good at my craft and I train myself on how to just demonstrate value, how to have somebody not just look at the financial costs, but what are the opportunity costs and all the other things, the emotional costs, the social costs, all those opportunities, the cost of inaction. If you let this go for another 2 years, what's that going to cost you? And I'm helping them make a decision, because that's what we do. And the minute we help someone make a decision so they can move, then that's like a gift, right? Because most people today, I'll bet you not everybody would agree that nobody wants to buy anything anymore. Today, nobody can buy anything. They can't make a decision. Well, who's that on? It's on us, because we didn't get the trust And we didn't do the value proposition to tell them about, okay, there's a cost and a benefit to staying where you are. What is it? And there's also, if the good doesn't outweigh the bad, there's a cost. Everything's a cost. A decision is always going to have a sacrifice. You got to go know that. Like when you go in to sell, right? Every decision is a sacrifice. If you decide to buy something, you're deciding not to do something else, right?
It's a great point. So your book has like tons of pearls of wisdom is what I love to call them. But if you were to pick out maybe one or two of your favorite areas of either lessons or teachings that you have in the book that you can tell our listeners, because I know that they would love to leave here knowing maybe a few of them, what would you pick and how would you explain those?
I would say that to serve another person well, you have to think about, have empathy and understand where they are and say to yourself, okay, how can I leave this person with an impression of increase no matter what? Okay. And that means that you're not thinking about the sale. You're thinking about, how do I help this person? What is the person? Where are they? Where do they want to go? What's in the way? And what's something that I can leave them with today that's going to help them, right? So that might help them make a decision. You may refer them to somebody else because it's not quite a fit with what you have. You may give them appreciation. You may give them acknowledgement. You could give them excellence in the way you handled the whole thing. Like, wow, like I could, maybe they're not going to buy from me today, but man, she was just good. Did you ever get, like, you have somebody like that sell? I'm sure you guys are just like me. It's like, if I get a good salesperson, it's like sold, done. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll buy it, whatever you're selling. Yeah.
Whatever it is. I don't need that, but I feel like I need it.
Yeah.
I think what you just said is just so important for all of our listeners to hear. And then there's one quote that you said in your book that was on page 43 because I wrote it down. I think it was one of my favorite quotes. And what you said was, bulletproof your mindset to be stronger than your emotions. So I'm going to repeat that. Bulletproof your mindset to be stronger than your emotions. Can you give us an example of how that looks and what we can do? Because as we said before, many of our listeners are women and we tend to act on emotions. So how do we as females literally live through this amazing quote that is my favorite?
So when I say bulletproof your emotions, you have to understand we all have an emotional guidance system. So your emotions come from thought. So the starting point is always thought. Now, you are not your thoughts. You can accept an idea, you can reject it, or you can originate an idea. So when I say bulletproof, it's disciplining my thinking to think forward, not in reverse, which is in the past, and to think about what I want, not what I don't want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
it's the discipline that, yeah, the news is coming on. Yeah, that's it. But I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on serving this client. I know this product is going to do whatever. These are my ideal clients. I'm going to find the ideal clients. I'm going to do massive action to get them. Maybe in today's society, where we are, we need to 10x our actions.
Our listeners can start to 10x their actions by buying your book because the spirit of selling says
Absolutely.
Just that.
Well, that's the whole point. So what is the spirit of selling? The spirit of selling is when you fall in love with something and you are enthusiastic. You can't wait to jump out of bed to go sell it. And I always say, if you don't love what you do what you love, because your vibration just by default, if you're on the love channel, you're up in high vibe and people buy high vibe energy. If you're not on the love channel and you're thinking about everything that's wrong and what you hate and all that other kind of stuff, get out of it, folks, because you're just going to attract more of things. It's just the law of vibration. And the secondary part is attract, because what you put out, you're going to get back. Spirit of it is like getting in the spirit of it. Like when you're in the spirit of game, you love the work. Like you can't wait to get up in the morning and go sell to someone, right? Go talk to another person that you can help. And then it's not about you anymore. And it's like, you're just making calls because I'm on a mission. I'm aligned with my purpose, my values. This is going to change the world. Hey, in medical devices, we all get into this space because we want to make an impact on human condition. That's probably why we all started. We're in the science field. We thought, oh, this is cool. This is right. That's what we want to do. We want to change the world. Well, if you're going to change the world, you better get in the spirit of it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I was going to ask you, what would you tell your younger self? But I feel like you just did that.
Yeah.
Do what you love, sell what you love, and have the passion for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
One thing on this podcast, we always talk about like there's a secret to something, because I feel that there's so much that we do that it's like, what did we miss? And there's just a secret. And so I honestly believe that your secret of, well, actually you quoted this, but I think something that our listeners need to know is you said the secret to selling here is that it's 95% mindset and 5% mechanics. And if we all could think like that, it would be amazing the flow of energy that would be in the next sales calls as we would impact patients and doctors and our customers. And I'm just very excited that you took a lot of what you knew and put it all together, pen and paper for us to read. I thoroughly enjoyed how you put this together because I think it applies to anybody out there selling in any field. Of course, cater to medical device, but I mean, I think this works for my children. Could probably talk me into sending them more money in college if they read this book.
Don't tell them that. This has been awesome and very inspiring. You make it sound so easy. You really do, Rhonda. I mean, I feel like no big deal. We can pick up this book, learn some lessons, and be able to apply it almost immediately to our sales profession and really see some results. I truly believe that anybody that picks up this book and reads it will see positive results from it. And that's fantastic that you put it out there and you tied it to selling, because we all live in a world of sales, no matter what we're doing. Even if we're not salespeople, we live in the world of sales, like you said. But for our listeners and for what Cindy and I are trying to accomplish here, especially for women, is we want everybody out there, especially women, to be successful in these male-dominated industries. And it's all the vibration, it's all the thought process and everything else that you talked about tied into one. And I hope that everybody listening today got that, because I can feel it coming from you. I mean, if I didn't already have your book, I would be buying your book and I want to finish reading it. I mean, I've gotten 3/4 of the way through and I can't wait to finish it. And it's like, it's just a positive feel. It's a wonderful positive feel. And that's what I really think all of our listeners will get from buying your book.
Yeah, informative.
I would say the thing that's crucial is that you have to realize that if things are not working out for you, you likely have accepted some ideas that the other people that you see experience success have rejected, and you've rejected some ideas that other people have accepted. I give you a lot of ideas in this book. The biggest thing that'll hold you back is your disbelief if you keep a closed mind and a closed heart and you don't want to explore it. I'm not saying you have to accept it, but if you go in with an open heart and an open mind to entertain and maybe play with some new ideas, because the thing that will hold you back is if you hold on to those beliefs and those fixed ideas, which become habits, and you refuse to let those go, you've gone as far as you're going to go. If you are willing to open your mind and consider some other ideas, because there's many ideas that you don't even know that could help you. I'm still finding ideas that I don't know that I can help me, because I go to mentors and stuff like that. If you can open yourself and not throw in the towel, then this book's for you. If you think you know it all, it's probably not the right book for you.
I love that.
I am going to ask you to take that one step further. When you say that you are, you start to open your mind. So what is one thing that somebody listening can actually do? We say open our mind, but I don't want them to be excited about this book and then read it, but then not really know where to start. So I know you said this is something that you didn't even realize till later on into your career that you could have adapted. So what are like a simple step, one even, or one or two, that once you say, okay, I think I want this to work for me, what is something I can apply right this minute or tomorrow to start getting closer to aligning with this energy and being in the right mindset to sell?
Okay, I'm going to give you some gold. 3 things that are causing your shortage thinking or your scarcity thinking. 1, write this down if you're listening: judgment. 2, competition. 3, comparison. Judgment, instead, if you trade your judgment, which is making something right or wrong, for discernment and curiosity, you're going to uncover a lot more. Competition, when you compete, you're basically you're thinking in reverse, that what you see on the physical planet is it, and that you just got to go eat somebody else's lunch and do whatever. You're not thinking, I have a subconscious mind and I can create something totally new and differentiate it and serve, I can be like, do a new blue ocean like Uber and whatever did the taxis, right? So you don't compete. I always say, don't compete, create and distinguish, make your own blue ocean. Third point is, when you compare, do not use the law of relativity against you. If you compare yourself to other people, you are doing the biggest disservice. Number one, all of you out there that are listening, you have divinity within you. There is not another person on the planet, nor will there ever be, that out of the, what is there, how many, 7-8 billion people or whatever,
Billions.
they're all different, right? They're all like a grain of sand or a snowflake. Everybody's different. Everybody has their special sauce, their special mixture of these talents to use in their own special way. And you were designed by your creator to be you, not to be somebody else. If you go down those three paths of judging, everything's black or white, or thinking that just because you have an idea, somebody else has to accept the same idea, that's crazy, because there's 8 billion of us running around. Everybody's going to have some different ideas, right? If you can give up judgment and you can give up competition and instead trade it for creation using your subconscious mind, and you can give up the comparison of yourself to others. You want to compare yourself to yesterday, that's great, because you're 1% better, great, yay. I'm not, okay, I'm going to try harder. That kind of comparison is okay. But comparing to somebody else, or competing, or judging things, all just shoves you right into scarcity and away from abundance. You basically turn around, you're going the wrong direction.
So again, like we said before, where the attention goes, the energy flows. Let's bring it to where we want it. Let's bring it back.
This was awesome. We could go on for hours, Rhonda, but unfortunately we have a time commitment. I loved this episode. This was really awesome. It made me feel excited. It made me feel happy, feel passion. I want to go out and start selling today, tonight, tomorrow. I hope all of our listeners not only heard this, but pick up your book. Real quick, where can they find your book, and where can they find you if they want to reach out?
Great. The book is on Amazon. There's also my website. If you want the book resources, it's www.thespiritofselling.com. And my contact information, I'm on LinkedIn, and my company is called 3x5 Coaching. It's all about having a goal card. Again, it's like you've got to have an aim with all this universal law. So it's 3x5coaching.com. And LinkedIn's probably, you can find my profile and everything there. That's probably the best place.
Well, we so loved having you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rhonda Petit, for writing this book and bringing energy to our podcast for all of our listeners to ready to go out there and sell. So we thank you very much.
Be in the spirit of selling.